Hello, I'm Allison Bryan. Welcome back to Bedbugs Podcast, where I lay in bed and talk about what bugs me. All right, it's been a little bit since I have been podcasting. I was traveling the last few weeks. I went to LA for a few weeks. I came back to New York. I went back to LA, and then I went to Washington, D.C. for a work event. My boyfriend came and took the train from New York and met me in D.C., did a speed run of a bunch of Smithsonian's, which that was my all-time favorite trip when I was a kid. We went with my grandparents. They took me and my brother, and we stayed in a hotel room. I will never forget watching the Ellen DeGeneres YouTube clips. This was when Sophia, Grace, and Rosie were on the Ellen show, and I was seething with jealousy. I was so jealous because I think they got to like go through Target and like pick out toys and meet Justin Bieber, and I was just like, are you effing kidding me? I did get one constructive note from my dad that he would like me to scale back the cursing on the podcast. I honestly never really realized how much I curse until having to listen to myself in the edit, which I don't claim that I have a true Valley Girl accent. I think I like to categorize myself in the mountain accent, which mountain is a great display word of the accent. I don't really pronounce my T's as sharply as I think they're supposed to be pronounced. Case in point, mountain. I just skip right over the T. It's just a mountain. And personally, I don't credit that to Arizona. I credit that to a mix of Arizona. My dad is Hawaiian, so when I pronounce Hawaii, I pronounce it Hawaii, which is how he pronounces it. And I didn't know that it was pronounced Hawaii. And I'm like obviously putting extra emphasis on that, but I didn't know people said Hawaii because when I talk about Hawaii, I talk about it with my dad who has a Hawaiian accent. That was like a revelation I had in high school, and I was made fun of pretty deeply by my mom and brother for that. I'm just so true native Hawaiian that I didn't know, and I'm just, I may be a Halle girl, but I say Hawaii. My mom was born in Brooklyn and then moved to Las Vegas when she was in elementary school. My grandparents, who were incredibly involved in my childhood and raising me and how I articulate, have thick Brooklyn accents. I just have this conglomerate accent. Also, was raised coming to Los Angeles for my entire life for months at a time, where the Valley Girl accent is pretty strong. So I think I have this like weird Maj Podge accent where it's like kind of Valley Girl emphasized by that Hawaiian drawn out marbles in the mouth way. Arizona just kind of like desert accent, which is a little bit more, almost a little bit of a southern twang, weirdly enough. And here comes me. But it is interesting to see like little pieces of your parents kind of like, and everyone like my grandparents pop up in like my day to day now, where it's like how I articulate. Like sometimes I will say something. I grew up always being told like I look a lot like my grandma and my dad. So my dad has 6 kids from 4 different moms. You would think like the sets maybe look a lot alike. Like me and my brother Carson have the same mom. So like he has my face. Like we look very similar. My sister, who has a different mom, we look like twins. We look so much alike. And all of my brothers, like it's incredible. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and I'm the baby of all of us. And we all look crazy similar. And it just goes to show like my dad's genes are so fucking strong. It's crazy. Always told growing up I have his face, and I found a picture of him. It literally was crazy. I was like, this is like all of my siblings' faces. I also get told a lot that I look like my grandma on my maternal side. Especially there's certain pictures that I would always be told like that looks so much like you. And it's interesting now getting older and like I never was really told I looked like my mom, but sometimes when I do things, people always be like, that was so your mom. I remember one time my cousin Anthony was telling me that my brother does this thing where he says, My brother's very analytical and logistic, and he will tell a story. And when he cuts himself off, instead of saying wait or he says, It's like a error code. He will stop himself mid sentence and go, and we thought this was so funny. We're like, he's literally a computer. And about 20 minutes later, he caught me doing it. And he was like, you do it too. It was clearly something I either picked up from him or we picked up from one of our parents. I don't know. I love that. I love that I'm a collage of every person who loves me and every person who has taken the time to instill something in me. When we were in DC, we went to a lot of museums, and something about museums that my whole family is like kind of in on this inside joke that when my grandma goes through a museum, she puts her hands behind her back and kind of like she's always looking up and looking around. I had noticed it when I was a kid, and we started kind of like teasing my grandma about it. And then we all went on a big group trip to Italy, and the word spread, and everyone was just kind of laughing about like how my grandma always hits this pose. When I was in DC going through museums, my boyfriend caught me several times hitting the Joan museum pose. My hands were stationed behind my back. Oh my God, I do it too. And I do think it's great. It's like I'm just a collection of everyone around me. I do think there's a lot of things like that I do that are very similar to my grandma. And I think that's just because I've spent so much time with her. She's just a very specific type of person. A few weeks ago, my cousin, Katie, had her first birthday party for her daughter. This is like this new wave kind of grandma thing where grandmas pick a specific name. You know, it's like the Gigi or the Lolly. Everyone's got to have a specific name. I think a lot of it stems from like nobody wants to be a grandma, nobody wants to be old. My grandma was always grandma. I called her Mo when I was a kid, and that was just because I couldn't say grandma as a baby. My grandpa was Papa when we were little, but he quickly transitioned into grandpa. We had like names or nicknames or whatever, but they were all organic. Nothing was ever thrust upon us. I do call my other grandma Hana Tutu because Tutu is the Hawaiian word for grandma, and she lives in Honolulu. So I call her Hana Tutu because it amuses me. After the birthday party, I went to dinner with my boyfriend's parents, and they were at my cousin's birthday party. So they, obviously know my family. And Jonah's mom told me she overheard a conversation of somebody asking my grandma, oh, what does she call you? Referring to the baby, my little cousin Patty. And my grandma looked at her and said, she doesn't call me anything. She's a baby. And that's my grandma, because realistically, yeah, like she's a baby. She can't speak yet. Have you heard her talking? She's just turned 1. We're literally celebrating her turning 1 right now. She says stuff like that all the time. It's always the bluntness. She's very honest. She cannot really like hide what she's feeling. She doesn't need to articulate her feelings because they're like written all over her face and her mannerisms. A few years ago, my grandma got involved with a charity that is all celebrities' moms doing charity work, and it's called Your Mom Cares. It's a great charity. She's like done a lot with them, and they're all wonderful. The moms are really great, and it's like Zendaya's mom and Michael B. Jordan's mom. We, as grandchildren, have somehow taken this and made it an inside joke. She got involved with an app that the whole goal of the app is kind of to be a headspace, like one of those therapy apps, kind of like a suicide hotline is, but for for the youth to be able to go and have somebody to quickly talk to. The way my grandma would explain this app to us, rather than just like explaining it as I just did to you, she would kick it off every time with saying the kids are killing themselves with such honest passion. The kids are killing themselves. Out of context, to hear someone very, very passionately telling you the kids are killing themselves constantly every time you see them takes away the serious nature and makes it something silly that your grandma keeps saying. She does not like that we find that funny. But my grandma just has always been kind of a very passionate person. She's an Italian lady. When I was a kid, we would get into fights primarily over the cleanliness of my room. I have just never been a person who naturally wanted to clean up. I try my hardest not to be a messy person. It takes everything out of me, and I still am a pretty messy person, unfortunately. There were times where my floor was nowhere in sight. It would be covered in clothes. And looking back, I think that may be tied to mental illness. It's just never been my strong suit. Even in my finest moments, it's just never really been something that I'm particularly pressed about. That was kind of the main point of contention with my grandma when I was a kid. For her, it was like a respect thing, which looking back now as an adult, I'm like, oh, fuck. Growing up, we did have a cleaning lady at my grandma's house. My grandma was probably like the last person on earth to need a cleaning lady. She pre-cleans for the cleaning lady. She would clean the house before our cleaning lady came. And our cleaning lady's name was Maricela. She was great. We just had insane beef. She would snitch on me constantly. First of all, she would also come, and if my room wasn't pre-cleaned, she would not clean it. It was just more the principle where it's like, why are we hiring a cleaning lady if we have to do all the cleaning before she comes? And when I became, I think, a sophomore and junior in high school, and I started kind of throwing parties, Maricela became my biggest op in the world. During the summer, even though my grandparents were out of town, they would still have her come just, I think, like every other week. I did not know this when I threw a house party and told everyone they could sleep over. And the next morning, she showed up at like literally 6 a.m., saw a bunch of people sleeping on couches in the living room. To be fair, I think it was only like 3 people were like sleeping on the couches, and they were all my close friends. She called my grandma, obviously. Looking back, I'm like, yeah, she had every right to, but at the time I was like, this fucking bitch. She blew up my spot. She absolutely blew up my spot. She told my grandma, and I will never forget this. She called her and she said, there were bodies everywhere. So then my grandma starts calling me, blowing up my phone. I was asleep. I wasn't answering. My excuse that I came up with was that my friend's AC broke at her house. All of her sisters slept over, and it was not bodies everywhere. It was like 3 people. It was my friend and her sisters, and they slept over, and it really was not a big deal. And she did buy it at the time. And then Marcel was on my fucking watch list. I had my friends over one night, and this wasn't even a party. It was just like my friends over to my house to swim and like watch movies and stuff. And we decided to do the like condom challenge. Well, I didn't, but the guys did. They decided to do the condom challenge where you like snort one up your nose and like it comes out the other nostril or whatever, or like your mouth or whatever it was, whatever the stupid trend was at the time. It got put in the bathroom trash outside of my bedroom. I forgot to take that trash out. I took all like the downstairs level. I did all the trash in that level before I left to go back to California, but I forgot the upstairs bathroom. Now, this would have been fine had Maricela, however, gone and emptied the trash. I also forgot the upstairs, my bedroom upstairs, and she chose to clean my bedroom one, but leave the condom trash can full. So my mom gets a call from my grandpa being like, we just got home. I don't know. My mom asked me about it. Luckily, I could very easily verify and say it was a condom challenge. It was not sex. I really do believe Marcella was like out to fucking get me by the end of it. Like by the end, our later years together, I think she was like, this fucking kid will pay. Did I have it coming? A little bit, but also like, who the fuck has beef with their house cleaner? But yeah, I've never been a super type A person in that way, which is hilarious because I am type A and like almost everything else that I do, so particular about everything and everything specific and everything is planned and my calendar is down to the hour. When I was a kid, I was always like that. Like even though I was like messy and all of these things, I was always very specific and particular and bossy as hell. So bossy. When we were in, I want to say fourth or fifth grade, but we were doing a project on adjectives and it was kind of a superlative thing. So everyone had a sheet, and for every single person in the class, you would write down their name and then 3 adjectives to describe them. Whatever word is put in the most is the biggest. So obviously every single person wrote down your name, so your name is the biggest. My teacher did it for all of us and she printed it out, laminated it, and then gave it to us as our end of year gift, of like, this is what, you know, all of your classmates said about you. So even if somebody wrote something down one time, it was on there just in a really small font. So I get mine back, a pretty decent sized font. It's like funny and in a pretty decent sized font. It's like pretty. And I'm like, thanks, girls. Thanks, all my homegirls. And in the same fucking font as my name, the same size, is bossy. And they fucking clocked my ass because, yeah, I was bossy as hell. I was so fucking bossy. I still am. I so bossy. Literally same size text as my name is bossy, which means every single motherfucker in that class wrote bossy. And at the time, I remember being like really embarrassed. Looking back, own that shit, girl. A kid said to me, like, you're such a know-it-all. And I looked him dead in the eyes and I said, I'm not a know-it-all. Maybe I just know it all. Clocked your tea. I was a kid who knew what they were about. I kind of have just never really struggled with that. I remember in middle school, like, if I felt like girls were doing stuff that was like ganging up on someone else or just like didn't feel nice, and this isn't to say I was never mean. Like I had my phases where like I was an asshole. One of my friends, Kate, who I saw in DC, we were just joking and talking about how when we were in middle school, she used to like do this thing when we went to her house. And I adore Kate and she's so fucking nice. But at the time she was kind of running the shit. And she used to have pageants at her house and we would all come and there would be judges and we would have to, first of all, like enter in the pageant and like we would have to have like routines, specific songs and costumes and all this stuff. And it was the time of my life. I had so much fun. But we used to have sleepovers and she would like choose her favorite or like, you know, whoever was like treating her the best to sleep in the trundle bed. And then the rest would have to go to the couch. And then if you were like being a bitch, she would tell you would have to sleep in the bathtub. I remember telling her like, no, I'll sleep on the trundle or I'll go home. I have a house and a bed and a room and my grandma would be happy to come pick me up. I could go to my grandma's right now. And actually, as a kid, I had a really hard time with sleepovers. I probably would have preferred being at my grandma's. I had a really difficult time with sleepovers. I did care that I was being called bossy. People were saying it with negative connotations, but I didn't care enough to ever change it. I remember there was this boy who liked me in middle school, friends with the popular boys, but wasn't himself a popular boy. But this kid was so about me, despite the fact that all of his friends were kind of like, why? I was nice. I wasn't polite to him. I was just me. And my boyfriend can attest to it now. He's always like, you're so nice. And I'm like, I'm not nice. And I'm not really trying to be nice. Maybe I wish I was wired more like that. Sweet all the time. I'm upfront and I'm honest and I'm kind of blunt. Got me chocolates for Valentine's Day in 6th grade. And I was so nervous and scared. And like, I ran away. And he was just like completely fine with it. The point of it wasn't for him to make me his Valentine. It was to tell me like he liked me and get me chocolate and to do something for me for Valentine's Day. And I think about that a lot now and like how sweet that was. But he like truly did like me for me, which I think is like one of the biggest gifts that a person can give you. And I think like my current boyfriend is very much like that. Those two parts of my personality being just like upfront and just like authentically me, and then like really wanting to be liked, fight each other. And my natural authenticity certainly does not help my need to be liked. So they just kind of exist in two different realms of me. This is something I've like talked to great length with my therapist about. In one session, I asked her, what do you think of me? Do you like me? What do you write down about me? Like, what do you think about me? And she wouldn't tell me. All of my friends thought it was so funny. They're like, you asked your therapist if she likes you? I'm like, yeah, maybe she's like weirded out by the shit I say. She needs to be having a good time during our sessions. Like, are you enjoying yourself? Are you having fun? Are my stories entertaining? Chat, let me know below if you like me, if you're liking me, if you're having a good time. All right, my bed bug this week is arguing with technology. This week, I was trying to play a song on Alexa, and I was cooking, and I was chopping up onions and garlic. My hands have kind of that sticky garlic film on them. My eyes are like watering from the onion. I'm chopping. And I'm like, let's listen to some music. Let's have some fun while doing this. So I'm like, Alexa, play Audrey Hobart. Now playing Audrey Hepburn radio on Pandora Music. No, bitch. That's not what I asked for. Alexa, play Sue Me by Audrey Hobart. Now playing Audrey Hepburn on Amazon Music. Bitch, no. And then I start getting frustrated and I'm like, Alexa, play Audrey Hobart on Spotify. Now I'm thinking, okay, the Spotify might help her out here. Now playing Audrey Hepburn. She keeps fucking giving me Audrey Hepburn. Nothing found for that artist or whatever the fuck. Telling me like she can't play it. That nothing exists. And I'm like, I know Audrey Hobart fucking exists. So then I'm like, Alexa, play Sue Me by Audrey Hobart on Spotify. She doesn't play it. Alexa! I'm getting so fucking mad. I'm yelling at my Alexa, this poor fucking robot living in my house. I'm yelling at her. And I literally had to like sit down. Sticky fucking garlic onion hands. I sit down on the couch and I'm like, a machine is infuriating me. That's a problem. That's a fucking problem. I need to cool it the fuck down because why am I getting so aggro over my Alexa who's trying her best? So I said, Alexa, could you please play Audrey Hobart, Sue Me on Spotify Music? There are no results for that. Oh my God, I almost lost my mind. So I went on my phone, I went to Spotify and I hit play and I luckily have it hooked up to my Alexa. And then I was like, Sue me on me, and I was feeling fine after that. But oh my God, I was getting so aggro, so mad. And I was like, I cannot be having such a reaction to my Alexa. There needs to be some intervention that happens here because I was getting so aggravated. All right, you guys, that was another episode of Bedbugs Podcast. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next week. Until then, sleep tight. Don't let the bedbugs bite. Good night.